couple of seconds and then we'll get started. All right.
Okay, I'm going to move this over.
Well, welcome. I'm Yvonne Schwab, ACG Silicon Valley CEO. I am excited to present you today's event, Zoom Makeover, Up-Level Your Online Screen Presence. For those of you new to ACG Silicon Valley, we are the leading business-to-business networking organization in Silicon Valley, providing connections, thought leadership, and enabling personal and organizational growth. We are part of a worldwide organization, ACG, offering an array of networking opportunities with 13,000 members in 59 chapters across the world. ACG Silicon Valley is offering a variety of virtual events in the coming months. We invite you to visit our new and improved website, ACGSV.org, to see the full calendar. We're excited to have an event next Wednesday in collaboration with Santa Clara University on gender and racial bias in venture capital. The CTO Innovation Circle is holding its first event on February 25th with the topic of responsible use of AI. We are also thrilled to bring you a 4-part joint event series with ACG chapters Austin, San Antonio, and San Francisco on tech trends from Silicon Valley to Silicon Hill. Part 1 will take place on March 11th on the topic of what's trending in tech today. Some housekeeping items for today. Please keep yourself muted unless called on, and we will take questions at the end, so make sure to put your questions into the chat box. I would now like to introduce you to our amazing guest today, Shelley Golden, an image consultant and Zoom Makeover guru. With over 20 years of experience, Shelley Golden is an international personal branding image consultant, fashion stylist, and certified color consultant. She is the owner of Shelley Golden Style. Personally, I can't wait to hear more about the Zoom Makeover, a 5-step process to help up-level your online screen presence to create a more professional image, increase engagement, and improve rapport and elevate your brand by aligning everything in your Zoom box. Shelley, are you ready?
I am ready.
All right. On to you.
All right, so let me, welcome everybody. Super glad to see you. So I just kind of show of hands, how many people have actually put in quite a bit of thought into how they appear in their Zoom box? Okay, for those who are on screen, okay, we get a majority of people who have. So what I'm going to be doing is really trying to help you come up with ideas of how you can up-level your Zoom to elevate your brand, to increase engagement so people will engage with you more, so that you have a better rapport with people. And so that's what we're going to be talking about. But I just want to give you a little kind of a quickie history of like, how did I come up with this thing? Because it didn't exist a year ago. You know, a Zoom Makeover was not a thing exactly a year ago. So I am as Yvonne said, I'm a personal branding image consultant. First of all, is my voice too loud? Yes or no? I have a new computer, and so I'm adjusting the sound volume. No, I'm good. Okay. So I've been working for my entire adult life, let's put it that way, working with men and women to help them show up. Who do they want to be? How do they want to present themselves to the world? Who do they want to attract to them? So last March, when the world closed down, it was a natural transition to go from helping people in person to helping them in their box. And so I was doing a workshop with somebody, and I came up with this 5-step process that we're going to go through step by step, so you can see like kind of all the little elements. It's all these little things that help you look your best in the box. And if you think of it 2 ways, you can look at it. One, that this is your curb appeal, how people see you when they first approach you. Or as I realized last weekend, this is your new calling card. Everything in the box, it's your new calling card. So I'm going to share my screen with you for a slide presentation, and I'll take question and answers afterwards. And I'm happy to, at the end, kind of ping pong around and give you advice. So please kind of get your questions ready to go. So I'm going to share my screen. And let's see. Can you see my screen? I can't see you. So if I can get a verbal yes or no.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you. All right. So this is me. I'm a, branding, executive presence, now the Zoom Makeover expert, and the name of my company is Shelley Golden Style. And we're going to be talking about how you can up-level your screen presence, whether it's on Zoom, whether it's for your company, for the employees in your company, whether you're on WebEx, Teams, it doesn't really matter. So this is an example of a Zoom makeover, kind of poof, before and after. 90 minutes later, I'm going to talk about this woman a little bit later, but she's a VP at Intel. This was the space in her home that she was relegated to. She had a lot of people in her home working from home at the beginning of COVID. And I'm going to kind of show you what I did to go from before to after, but that is what you get. So there's 5 steps to the Zoom makeover. The first one is camera angle. You've seen people, they're either looking up their nose or looking at the ceiling, we're going to work on that. The second one is lighting, and lighting is actually the first thing everybody notices. You notice when people are in the light, you notice when people are in the dark. So we're going to talk about lights, even specific lights you can buy. There's also background, and background is a huge issue. Do you have a virtual background? Do you have a real background? We're going to talk about that as well. Also, I'm a certified color consultant, so I'm really picky about colors. So we're going to talk about what color clothing works best in general, but usually that's on a person by person basis because it depends if you have a light background behind you or a dark background. You have a virtual background. So what color clothing works best in your space? And for women and men who actually wear makeup, I have what I've kind of designed as Zoom specific makeup techniques to counterbalance the blue light coming off of your computer and to create a little bit more of a 3-dimensional look on this 2-dimensional platform that we're stuck in. So at the beginning of COVID, I was, not used to sitting at a computer every day. I had my computer on my dining room table, on my desk, and I'm looking down at it, and my neck was in such pain, especially since I have a 25-year traumatic neck injury. So I am very adamant that you sit ergonomically correctly. But in particular, what I want you to notice from this particular slide is the little dotted line between the eye and the camera. It's a straight line. You're not looking down, it's a straight line. And that's really going to keep your head, your neck, your back feeling better, because we're all spending way too many hours sitting at our computer these days. So this particular visual, I just got off the web. And when I saw this, I thought, wow, everybody looks so present. You could actually see their eyes. And in this little Hollywood Squares ensemble, I'm going to just kind of show you what is it that I thought that made this look so appealing. First of all, as I said, the first thing you notice is lighting. And almost everybody's face is not only well lit, but for the most part, it's even on the left side and the right side. Not everybody, but by having the light even really helps eliminate distraction, like, there's only light on half their face. You could also see the color of some of their eyes. Is also their positioning. They have a little bit of space above their head, and they all happen to be at the bottom of the box, the top of their armpits, but I like to go a little lower to the bottom of the armpits, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. But you can see it's easy to engage with them. And it almost feels like they're all just sitting at the same table and the camera just went around and went click, 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 click. So it's easy to engage. And that's what I try to do when I'm working with people, is it to help people feel like they're just sitting on the other side of the table from you. So let's go through the 5 steps, step by step. So the first one is camera angle. So again, if you could see someone's ceiling or they can see your ceiling, that means you're looking down to your computer, they're looking up your nose, under your chin, to your ceiling. That's not what you want. Here, I was on a call with this guy for like 45 minutes. Like, really, do I have to look up your nose? It was so uncomfortable. And not only that, it was because it puts the viewer off kilter, it makes it doubly uncomfortable because you feel like you need to strain your neck to look at him, square in the eye, because you can't look at him square in the eye. This is another person I was on a call with. And again, like, how do you engage with this person? It's very, very difficult because it's almost like he doesn't want to engage. He's more interested in showing you his virtual background than engaging. So you really want to be present. You want to be in the center. You want to be looking directly into the camera. This is the opposite situation. This person has a camera that's too high. So she had a camera that's attached to the top of her monitor, looking down onto her head, onto her leopard carpet. And it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel like we're equals. It doesn't feel like we're just sitting across the table from one another. And that's what I aim for. So if in the event you need something to raise up your laptop, you can either put reams of paper, you could get a laptop stand. So this particular laptop stand is the one on the right is a Boyata. It's a really great stand. Not only does it go up and down, but it goes vertically and horizontally. So you could actually put an iPad on it as well. It takes up a little less space than your desk. It will do the trick in terms of raising up your computer, but you might need to get an exterior keyboard so that you're not in an ergonomically uncomfortable position, kind of typing in the middle of the air. Step 2, let's talk about lighting. This is the first thing everybody sees. They notice when you're in the light, they notice when you're in the dark. So, but what you do not want only the light coming from your computer to light up your face. So this is what you get. If you're in a slightly darker room, this is what people see. And it feels a little bit techno. It doesn't feel good. You want to be able to engage, build a brand, build a rapport. And, in terms of elevating your brand, it's how people remember you. And is this how you want people to remember you? I'm not so sure. So this is a woman I was doing a Zoom makeover with. This was her before shot. I take lots of before and afters because I take them as we go to see the progress. Sometimes we're comparing lighting, but you could see she was sitting in front of this window. Even though the blinds were completely closed, she's sitting at her desk and she is in the dark, because what happens is the camera picks up light first. Whatever is white and light, it picks up first. Everything else becomes dark. What you cannot tell is that she actually has a bright green sweater on. So we worked on the lighting. We actually put up a virtual background, a physical background, and this was her after picture. We worked on what color clothing, we worked on makeup, we put up this background. The only thing that she really needed to work on, there was a spotlight over her head that she really didn't feel like climbing on a ladder at that time. But that is the after. So before and after, huge difference. This is another woman I was on a call with who had all the lights behind her. You could see on the left, bright daylight outside, lights in the room, and I had advised her turn off the chandelier on the ceiling, take the light to the other side and get some lights in front of you. You want to be careful that there are no lights on in a room behind you, because the camera will pick that up first and darken everything else, just like you see here. The ideal situation, which of course not everybody can do, would be to sit in front of a window that doesn't have sunlight coming in on it. Why? Because daylight has the full spectrum of colors. So it really makes the most beautiful light on your face. But I get it, not everybody can sit in front of a window. You also need to be careful if you sit in front of a window that the rest of your room doesn't look dark, because again, that could feel uncomfortable. And we're aiming for no distractions, that it feels really comfortable, and everything in your Zoom box, as I call it. I have some suggestions for lights and positioning of lights. So take a look on the right-hand side. So here there's a woman sitting at looks like on her bed is really what it looks like, the way they have her staged. But take a look at the position of the light. I always suggest putting your lights, especially if you wear glasses, at 10 and 2. Check out the clock on the wall. Hands are at 10 and 2. Reason being, if you have your lights at 10 and 2, they'll cross over to the sides of your face, left and right. It lights up both sides, and it completely misses your eyes, especially if you wear glasses. You don't have the glare. Also, so she has her light positioned, let's see, it's on her left, so at about 10 o'clock. But also notice it's a little bit higher than her eyes, angled downward. And if you angle your lights a little bit downward and higher than your eyes, it softens the light on your skin, and you don't get that glare that it looks like you've got a spotlight on your face. So that is a 6-inch ring light. There's 2 different brands, the Fontrest and the Ayer. I don't know how you pronounce it. I lived in Amsterdam for 10 years, and that's very similar to the Dutch word for egg, which is Ayer. So I always think it's the Dutch egg brand. So that's a 6-inch, very unusual. It's a new size that just came out, which I think is a perfect size for Zoom meetings. If you look on the left side, this is also, this is brand new. A lot of people have 4-inch ring lights, but what makes this new is it's actually on a stand. Before, you had a 4-inch ring light that only had a clip. So you'd have to clip it to your desk or your monitor. And it's a very hard clip to really open up. So the fact that this is on a stand is great. Both of these lights have warm, neutral, cool, high, medium, low, so they're great lights. This is another light that you can buy. This is a Lume Cube. This is battery operated. It also comes on a tripod. So this is ideal for people who do not wear glasses. So I would just be warned of that. So this is my light. And this is kind of my super uber tip that I give to so many people. It's cheap, it's easy. So by putting fuchsia and yellow Post-its over your light, it's the correct combination to counterbalance the blue light, so it doesn't look like you, 1, have a spotlight on your face, and number 2, it actually, mixing these 2 colors together, creates a peachy color, which is like I said, it's the correct combination to counterbalance the blue light, so you don't look washed out, you don't look gray. It doesn't matter whether you're dark-skinned or light-skinned, it's still the right combination. And you might want to have more yellows or more pinks, depending upon the light in your room, how much sunlight is coming in or daylight, how it's filtering through your windows. But this is a really cheap and easy hack that I recommend all the time. So here's my client that I'm going to tell you 3 lighting amendments that we did. So very clearly you can see we changed the camera angle. We talked about her clothing, but that elephant in the room, which is that glare coming through that window, was so intense that literally I had her take 3 pieces of white printer paper and tape it in the window, and that did the trick. Very simple. And if you look on the before shot, she has a glare on her forehead. because she has a third high window in front of her. So I'm like, okay, we need to put something in that window as well. And she said, hey, I have this, my kid's art project on pink construction paper. I'm like, great, put it in the window, which was perfect. It didn't cover the entire window, but it covered the glare. It pinked her up a little bit. So it gave her skin tone a little bit more of a natural look. And lastly, she took the screenshot about 5 days later because I had her order one of those small 4-inch ring lights. And then you could see we were actually positioning pots on her little file cabinet, which was a mess. We strained it up, but we were positioning pots to put a plant, an orchid in particular. So let's go to step 3. What does your background say about you? Because really this is your new calling card. This is your new business card. So if you look at this image, at this screenshot that I took of this woman I was talking to, you know, think to yourself, what is the first thing that you see? And then what is the second thing that you see? You know, if you gut instinct, you know, what is the first and second thing you see? For me, the first thing I see is her face and her eyes. Like I can just zoom in on her face and her eyes. I could see the color of her eyes. And so that captures my attention. Secondly, I kind of go down her, you know, kind of her chest a little bit because it's the same color. So it's part of her face, to this teal top, which is the same color of her as her eyes. So it's kind of taking me back and forth between her eyes and her torso, which is ideal because that's one of the things that we're missing on Zoom, is being able to read people's body language. So by forcing them to see your torso, they can read your nonverbal cues. So that's what we're missing. So why do I, other reasons why this particular screenshot is so great, besides the fact that she's drawing us into her. And if you look, I'm not even sure if she's sitting down because she's got the table behind her. It almost looks like she's sitting on the edge of her sofa because she's got a couple of things going on. So in terms of background, I always suggest having some sort of plant or flowers. It's inviting. It's like you're inviting somebody into her home, and she has it going on 2 sides. She's got the trees on the right, which are lovely. And then she has these white flowers that blend in with the rest of her room, but you could see them. You know, if they were red, it would be the first thing that you see, not her face. But there's 2 other things going on. She has subliminal lines. See the dark lines on the left? It's like an arrow pointing to her eyes. And the same thing on the right. It's these subliminal lines that are forcing you to look at her face. And that's why it's busy, but not busy. It works. She's the main event. I actually just put this slide in today. It's like, wow, is that blurry? But I put it in, as I got it off the web, but it was so nice. If you have a white wall behind you, I always recommend putting some sort of plant against a white wall, because I get on a lot of calls with people with white walls. I think I'm going to have to change this slide because it's really blurry on this. Here's another call I was on. The color of wall is great, but you have a glare in her glasses. And also looking at the background, when I was on this call, like, what is that on the right? Are those her kids' art project? Are they maps? And I found myself distracted by what was on her walls, and I wasn't paying attention to her. So you need to really focus in on what is it that people might be distracted on the wall behind you. So I have a couple of Zoom makeovers that I'm going to show you what I did. So here's this woman, the same woman who has a camera angle looking down on her head. So what we did is very clear. You could see we changed the camera angle, and I was looking, what is it? When I got on the call with her, I asked her, what is that thing on the left? I couldn't figure out what these squares were. And she said, it's a light fixture. I'm like, okay, lose the light fixture, take the little stool with it. But she told me her biggest problem was that lovely leaded glass window, because in the late afternoon, there was so much glare, there's so much light coming through that she was backlit. So I'm like, okay, what do you have in your home that we can try to cover some of the window with? I didn't think that she'd come back with a painting that fit absolutely perfectly in the window frame. That was a total fluke. So then I had her move the leather chair over to this empty space, which was now a shiny brown leather chair. So we upholstered it with the backside of a duvet cover she had in her linen closet, which was perfect because it matched the painting. So now it looks like this well-decorated rooms, stuck a pillow on it, cleaned up the bookshelf, put a little bit of makeup on. And the only thing she needed to do was get a light for her left side of her face. And so this woman is a dietitian. So you can imagine her patients looking at her before, it's like too many shapes if you're having digestive issues. And here, this is calm. It's easy to talk to her, especially because she was always in a hospital office before this. Here's another Zoom makeover. This woman's an executive coach. And we made a few changes. Here you can see camera angle, lighting. We closed the window. But I wanted to point out two things on the back wall. One, you could see the vase. We changed it from black to clear. Just by changing the vase, like all of a sudden those flowers look so inviting, and you could see the stems as opposed to this black vase on a dark brown piece of furniture. But also we changed the picture on the wall, because once we changed the camera angle and the lighting, it was reflecting off the glass. So you need to be very careful if you have certificates or diplomas or artwork that has glass on it. You don't want any glare, because that is distracting. Here's another Zoom makeover I did. This woman had a physical virtual backdrop. And if you look on the left, you feel like you need to turn yourself sideways to look at her like in perspective. And you actually also see over the top of the backdrop, which, that's her wall behind the backdrop. So by raising her camera a foot, we raised it practically a foot. Now the camera is at eye level. And so the room, the room looks a little bit more at level, and it's not quite so dizzying, because she was giving an hour presentation like 2 days later. I also had her pull over. She had this bookshelf that she just used as storage. So I had her pull over the bookshelf so it looks like it's in the room, put some books on it, brought in a plant from another part of her home, and now it looks more inviting. It's easier on the eye, and as long as she stood in front of that white window, she was good. Her lighting was good, her clothing was good. She stands out, she's the focus. The plant and the bookshelf just soften it up a little bit. This is the last one I'm showing. This is a client of mine. He's also a styling client of mine. And we did a couple of different things. First of all, let's see. I had him turn his plant 180 degrees, because our eyes read from left to right. So if we see the plant, from the two parts of the plant, from the left moving to the right, it's actually angling up to his eyes. And you can see almost there's like a little leaf that's also kind of pointing upward toward his eyes. Again, it's a subliminal line looking toward your eyes. Here's another one. Books. If you have books on a bookshelf, I always suggest having them angled in from tallest to shortest, with the shortest next to your eyes. And it doesn't matter, sometimes you have the bookshelf on the left, sometimes on the right. By doing that and having, because our eyes naturally see from tallest to shortest, so have the shortest next to your eyes, and it actually acts as a little bit of an arrow, a bullseye. Another thing that I did with him when we started this phone call, he's a sport coat guy. He likes to wear sport coats. He had a navy sport coat and a white shirt. Well, that navy sport coat looked, with the white shirt, looked black and white. He blended in with the door and his hair, so he didn't stand out at all. By changing his shirt to the light blue shirt, he differentiates himself from the door and the door frame. By putting this brighter blue jacket on, that's the first thing you see when you see him in his Zoom box. It's not so bright that it's irritating. but you can look at his eyes and you look at his torso and you could read all of his nonverbal cues. As a financial advisor, it's really important that his clients trust him. And here he develops a lot of trust. I'm going to just skip over this one. We've got a bit of a diagonal here with her eyes in the middle. So let's talk about clothing, since we were talking about black and white. So I usually suggest staying away from white and staying away from black. Why? Because again, the camera picks up whatever is white and light first. If you wear white, I mean, she's against a white wall, so you see her face. But if you wear white in your normal Zoom space, that's the first thing everybody will look at. And you don't want them to look at your clothing. You want them to look at your face. You want them to look at your eyes. So stay away from white. It's also sometimes too white. On the other hand, if you wear black, you look smaller and people won't be able to really focus in on your torso and read your nonverbal because it just kind of blends into the background unless you have a white or very light background. That's the only time I would recommend wearing black, although I never truly recommend it on Zoom. What I do recommend, though, is wearing solid colors. By wearing a solid color, it literally acts as a color block in the middle of your Zoom box. So whatever you have around you, you might have your desk, you might have your kitchen, your dining room table. By wearing this solid color and being more or less in the middle third of your Zoom box, you're acting as this color block and having people's attention on you. And it stops all the other details and visual cues coming around you. What I recommend never wearing are busy prints. It's too much on Zoom. It's too distracting. And guys, I would also stay away from like larger plaid shirts. Small patterns are fine. I'm totally fine with that. But large distracting patterns are way too distracting. So step 5, makeup. So for those of you who do wear makeup, I'm going to just be quick, not going to elaborate on this, although there are mostly women on this call. So Zoom specific makeup, I really have kind of a 4-point bullseye on your face that I like to work with. You want to make sure your eyebrows are shown because it's the top of your bullseye. If you wear glasses with a frame, that suffices. You also want to put a little bit of lipstick on because this way people can read your lips. Kind of, you know, the read my lips statement, you know, especially if there's a nano blip and the sound goes out, people will be able to read your lips and they'll be able to focus on your mouth and what you're saying. Again, it's a little bit of a bullseye. It kind of sucks them in to watch your mouth move and pay attention to what you're saying. And also you can see the little red lines, 2 easy little hacks to create the illusion of a jawline. If you literally just kind of shade your jawline and pull it down a little bit under your chin, it gets rid of that, as I call it, the unineck look. And also by putting a little blush or contour around your cheekbone, not on it, around your cheekbone. What that does, by having your cheekbone without any color on it, it would look lighter and appear closer to the camera and therefore look like a higher cheekbone. It's just an optical illusion. Happy to talk to you about that later or in person. Here's just an example of the cheekbone and the jawline. You can see I did it on one side of her face. That you can see it looks like her cheekbone is more defined and her jawline looks slimmer. It's just an optical illusion. You know, we worked on her whole Zoom background with her branding and just showing you the makeup example. So the Zoom makeover, what are the benefits of doing a Zoom makeover? I have 5. It really helps increase your client engagement. When they're talking to you, they really feel that you're right there. It improves your rapport with your client or whoever your colleagues, whoever you're speaking with. Trustworthiness is a big topic. You appear more trustworthy, especially if you have a real background versus a virtual background. You also up-level your brand, and brand, is how people remember you if you have a great Zoom screen. And of course, the aim is increase your bottom line. So I have 3 different ways that people can work with me to do a Zoom makeover. I have individual sessions. I have a 90-minute session is usually how it is. And I have for a special ACG pricing, I'm offering the Zoom makeover individual session for $350. I also have small group workshops that I work with groups of 3 to 5. This is ideal for teams of people within companies, and also corporate presentations very similar to what I'm doing today. So I want to just close with this quote. When you want to inspire, make an impact, and have people pay attention to you and what you're saying, everything needs to be in alignment. And I truly believe that for paying attention to people on Zoom. So I thank you very much. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen. If I can get my mouse in the right position. And let's see.
I think you stopped. Shelley, thank you so much. Definitely a lot of information here. Feel free to share or to put your questions into the chat box, and we'll call up on you. Tyler, I'm sorry, I have to share. Tyler just texted me and said that while you were presenting, she bought the Boyota or whatever that thing was called, the lift up thing, $30, and bam.
I can't believe I hadn't purchased one before.
All right, I have to tell you, for some reason, I have a brand new computer and I lost everybody.
Can you still hear us?
I could hear you, but I can't see anything. And I just got it the other day, so I'm still working out the kinks.
That's okay. I can read the questions to you.
All right.
So one question is, any info on green screens?
Can you see me, by the way?
Yep. Yes.
Oh, you can. Oh, okay. Green screens, yes. The best green screens to buy, in my opinion, it's the easiest one. It's literally like a banner. It pulls right up out of a case. You don't have to worry about clips or anything, but they do come in 2 widths, and I would usually suggest getting the wider width unless you're in a really small space. Reason being, you want to make sure that that green screen is wider than your camera angle, because then people are going to see what's behind you, and it doesn't feel comfortable. So there's different brands, and I'm feeling extremely lost here, that I am just beside myself over here.
Shelley,
Yeah.
Can you find your Zoom icon in a toolbar or something? Click on that.
No, it's I literally, as though I have nothing on my Mac. It's like a new computer with nothing on my desktop. You know what I might have to do is just restart my screen and jump back on in 2 minutes.
Okay.
So let me see if that might help.
You're fine. If you can ask, just answer some more questions. We can see you all fine. We can hear you.
Okay, I'd love to be able to see if people had questions.
I'll read them to you. Another one is virtual background or not? Yeah, I mean, yes or no.
My suggestion is not to have a virtual background. A couple of reasons. One, you appear more trustworthy if people could see your background. Especially sometimes people have like funky backgrounds. You're on like, different planet, or you're in space. It's like, oh, what are you hiding back there? On the other hand, some people actually need a virtual background. They're in their garage, they're in their kitchen, they've got their kids running around. We are in the situation we are in. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be working with a company in Denver, and we're going to be creating a custom virtual background with their branding. So when their employees are traveling in hotel rooms, they have a really nice branded background that works for their company in, wherever they are.
Okay.
So sometimes you need it, but if you can try not to have it, that would be best.
Okay. Next question, tips on glasses and how to prevent the glare.
Okay, so I mentioned this during my presentation. If you put your lights at 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock, sometimes you need it at 9:30 and 10:30, but then the light would then be coming in on both sides of your face, and then you don't get the light in your glasses. So like you don't see the light in my glasses unless, of course, I turn toward my lights. But that's the best way. Also, you can get lenses, no glare lenses from your optometrist. And lastly, I mentioned that I often put fuchsia and yellow Post-its over my lights, and it diffuses the light. But also what you could do is I also often put white paper over the light, and it diffuses it. It just makes it a little bit softer, so it's not so harsh, especially on your glasses.
Good tip. Okay, next question. Suggestions on distance from camera, for instance, proportion of person versus screen size.
Okay, since I can't see myself, hey, I could see you guys over here. Let me see if I can.
I think you touched on that in your presentation.
Yes, but you could still see me. So, oh, I could see myself over here. Okay, so if you take your hand, squish your fingers together, put it on top of your head. I could see people are doing it. All right, so you want a couple fingers in the screen and a couple of fingers out. So in other words, it gives you just a little bit of space above your head. So that's where you want your head to be, because you want your eyes in the top third. Just like if you and I were sitting at a table together, my eyes aren't halfway down your body. They're kind of in the top third of what you see over the table. And the bottom of the Zoom box, I started to say this. So this is kind of a funny thing. So if you take your thumbs and kind of put them under your armpits and put it across your chest, that's about where you want the bottom of the screen to be. Reason being, so women, you do not want your fullest part of your bust at the bottom of the box. So this kind of puts the bottom of the box a little bit above above the nipple line. Guys can go a little bit lower because they don't have necessarily the fullest part of their bust, because it will be the closest thing to the camera and it will look bigger than it actually is. So, but this way, if you could see as much of your torso as possible above your bust line, people will be able to read your nonverbal cues. And so that's giving them as much torso of you as possible for them to interact and really feel like you're just sitting at the same table.
Great. I'm not quite understanding this question, but I'm just going to read it. How to adjust your tips when you are using webcam settings versus computer camera? Tips. I don't know. Catherine, what do you mean by tips? Is Catherine still here? No. So I'm not quite sure what she meant by that.
Okay. I'm not either.
Okay.
Because each camera has its own camera setting, so some cameras have a wide angle, sometimes wide angle is a little bit too wide, some of the, oh, I forgot what the brand is called. Oops, I forgot the brand of the camera. Sometimes, the camera has too wide of an angle, and you want to take up about a third, like the center third. And if you have a wide angle and you're only taking up the center fifth, there's too much background. And people want people to focus on you, not what's behind you.
Okay, next, what if your office has a yellowish peach color paint?
Yeah, then you are extremely lucky.
Okay.
That's the first thing that popped into my head. Lucky reason being, again, so the light coming off the computer is a blue light, and quite often the lights that they have, they have a little bit of a blue gray tinge. I mean, you look at yourself, you always feel a little bit washed out. So if you have kind of a peachy colored wall, you are just one lucky person. If it makes you look too yellow, then I would suggest trying to pink yourself up a little bit. And that's where I use pink and yellow Post-its. Because our, skin color, it's kind of a combination of peachy, pinky, brown colors, depending upon how light or how dark your skin is. And so it's these little minute changes that changes the color and how it appears on our skin.
Right, here's one of my favorites so far, because I always struggle with this. Do you look straight into the camera or to the person's image, which causes you to look a little lower than the camera and it looks like you're not really looking? So how do you?
Okay, all right. So if I have my monitor this wide and my little camera is up here, sometimes what I do is I have a little tiny piece of bright yellow paper right next to my camera, so that I actually am looking at this bright yellow piece of paper next to my camera, because my camera, it's in a black frame around my monitor, so it kind of blends in, even though there's a little teeny light, but it gives me a bullseye to look at. That's number one. Number two, if my screen is this big, I make my Zoom screen, let me see, I'm going to look down because I could see you on my computer, but not on my monitor for some reason. Instead of having my screen this big, I make my Zoom screen to be about this big, and I put it right under my camera. So when I'm looking at everybody, my eyes aren't darting from side to side. And if I'm looking at the person at the bottom corner, I'm not looking down like this. I'm still just looking in this little area. And so if I'm speaking, I try to look at my yellow piece of paper. Occasionally my eyes will come down if I'm, to look at the person. But if I'm speaking, I'm looking at that yellow piece of paper, because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to engage with you. And if you could see my eyes, you can engage with me. And that really elevates your brand, elevates engagement, elevates rapport.
Okay, great. Another one, how do you read a text on the screen or print it and not show that you're actually reading? Like looking away from the camera.
Sometimes when I'm making videos, I have little pieces of paper right next to my camera. And so my eyes are barely looking left, barely looking right of the camera. Or I have the wording, say if I have it on a PowerPoint, I have the words right at the very top of my PowerPoint. So if I'm going page by page, all the wording is immediately under my camera. And so at least I'm looking as close to the camera as possible.
Okay, perfect. My kitchen provides a large counter and nicer lighting, but I'm wondering if the refrigerator background is negatively distracting.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question?
Absolutely. She said, my kitchen provides a good large counter and nicer lighting, but I'm wondering if the refrigerator background is negatively distracting.
Well, it depends what color the refrigerator is and what's on the refrigerator.
Stainless steel. I'm looking straight at it.
Oh, okay. Like a stainless steel refrigerator, it's just going to look like a gray square. So I'd have to kind of see how it looks in perspective.
So you can't see her, I assume, in your,
Oh, is this?
Hina? Is it, am I saying that right, Hina?
Okay, yes, I see you. Oh yeah, that's a little bit distracting because you have some light reflecting off of it. I don't know, I see you have a door over your left shoulder.
Right, correct. Yep.
If you turn your camera a little bit close away from the refrigerator to the door, what's next to the door?
Just more doors.
Actually, even that looks better.
Yeah, okay.
Ideally, if you could have like a plant between the doors or in front of one of the doors.
Yeah. I can, I mean, this is now my living room, so I could do this.
No.
No? Okay.
No.
Never mind. We don't need to do a consultation here. I was just curious about the kitchen perspective, right? If it's unprofessional.
Yes, a little bit, but
Okay.
more than, not so much that it's unprofessional, it's the reflection on the refrigerator.
Okay, good.
That's the first thing that my eye is going to, is the reflection. So even if you like angle a little bit away from the refrigerator closer to the doors.
Yep.
I don't know if you can scoot to your left.
Yeah. It takes away from the desk-like environment, but yeah, I could try that.
Yeah, it's a little bit better. It's less distracting.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, anybody else have a question? I don't see any more in the chat. Feel free to unmute yourself and ask it directly.
Okay.
Anybody? Everybody's gotten.
Oh, let's see. I have something here. This is very strange, and I can't seem to post anything. I had like a direct link for my contact information, and
we can send all of that out when we send you a link as well. All okay. We can share that.
Quick question, if nobody else has anything.
Yes.
So we all work from home. There are, our loved ones who are working from home. In my case, 4-year-old who sometimes just pops in the conference calls and sometimes during the pitches. It's not exactly the background and everything, but how do you handle cases like that you're surprised, and wind blowers of neighbors usually happen during the important presentations? How do you deal with those? Do you deal with it like in a light, joking way? Is that taken away from professionalism? Do you pretend like it's not happening? And anybody else suggestions I could use?
I mean, the only thing of course, I'm sure you do everything in advance to prepare that won't happen, but we are working from home. And personally, I would just, make light of it. Hey, I didn't plan this. I wasn't planning on my 4-year-old running behind me, okay, please go to a different room and move on. I think people seem to be very lenient. Of course, that's not the ideal situation. But occasionally it does happen. A fire engine might go by and the dog will start, barking like crazy. I'm just throwing that out there. It happens. And I think people are very lenient. I think, being a professional, we try to prevent this as much as possible, but we are living in odd times.
Do you think Zooming is gonna remain even after COVID is gonna be a little lighter?
Yes. So who's asking this?
This is Hadi Nahari.
Okay.
I'm waiting.
Just so I'm like looking down, I could see my computer down here.
Are your suits there, Shelley? Maybe if you are, you'll be able to answer this question. Sorry.
So the question is, it's, everybody I'm talking to says we're just going to be going to a hybrid. It's definitely here to stay. So many companies are saying, hey, I'm sticking with this. I can get a lot more business taken care of just taking care of Zoom calls as opposed to jumping in my car or hopping on an airplane. So I think it's definitely going to be a hybrid. And so, getting your calling card looking really good, I think is really important going forward, because it's your brand, and if you elevate your brand, work on that now, that's how people are going to remember you. And it works really well to help increase engagement. And yes, I think we're going to be sticking with Zoom.
Hi, Shelley, I have a question. It's Haley. Quick question for you. So like many, I spend hours and hours and hours on Zoom doing lots of presentations. I'm a big believer you don't eat when you're on Zoom, but sometimes you need to drink water. Like if you're presenting and if you're actually talking for extended periods of time, do you have it might sound like a silly thing, but I'm pretty self-conscious. Like I always want to move and like take a sip, or do you like any little tips on when you need that glass of water or that sip of water?
Yeah, I do. Because so often, whether you're speaking, you're presenting, you're at a breakfast meeting, you're at a lunch meeting, before you would sit at the table and eat together. If you're drinking something, especially water, I would have it in a clear glass that's not a massive mambo wombo, big glass that they serve in restaurant, at your local, restaurant. I'd have it in a small to medium sized clear glass, no straw. Because I would not drink it out of a bottle. I would not drink it out of, kind of a, like the on the go athletic bottles. Have it very elegant and sophisticated, clear glass. And I think you're good. It's fine.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Great question, Haley. Thank you for asking that. As I was chugging on my big water bottle earlier.
That's not why I asked.
No, but I've always wondered that as well. So great question.
Actually, can I add to that question though? This is Glinda. So earbuds versus non-earbuds, because what I have noticed when people wear earbuds and they drink water, you can hear the gulp, 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 and it is so creepy. What do you do? Like earbuds or no earbuds to avoid these kind of weird sounds?
Turn your sound off while you're drinking.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I can do that, but
there you go.
Others.
Right. So, earbuds are relatively new, every couple months there's something new out there. So that's actually a really great question. And I'm going to add that to my Zoom etiquette course that I present. Thank you so much, Glinda. But yeah, so, when you're doing anything that would have any noise, you're blowing your nose, you're even wiping your nose, you're chewing, you're eating, you're futzing, you're stapling, just turn your sound off. That's really, I think that's proper etiquette. Keep your sound off as much as possible unless you're speaking. And I don't know, maybe some people do, some people don't. You could just push the space bar down. I want to show you one thing. I know people are dropping off, but I wanted to show you, and we're actually at 1 o'clock. One thing that Zoom has put into their new update. Now, I don't know, you might not know if your Zoom has been updated. So I'm going to just walk you through this. So in the bottom left corner of your Zoom screen, there's the stop video icon on the bottom left. Don't click on the icon, click on the little up caret to the right, and then click on video settings. So you'll see a picture of yourself and there'll be some wording underneath. First of all, make sure the box that says improve my appearance, I can't, for some reason, can't do anything. I think it says improve my appearance. Make sure that's checked off. And then under that, if your Zoom has been updated, you'll have a box that says adjust for low light. Click that box. Does anybody not have a box that says adjust for low light? I don't see any hands. Okay, so then in that same line, you'll have another box that says auto or manual. Put it on manual. And then you'll see a slider and you'll be able to adjust the light in your Zoom box. So Chris, I see you adjusting it. And the bonus of knowing this, so thank God we're past the darkest day of the year, but this is really great for early morning meetings, late afternoon meetings, and evening meetings, because it doesn't just brighten up your face. You could almost have no additional lighting on your face, and it'll brighten you and everything in your room. So that's a really great added feature that Zoom added in the fall. So I always like to share that with people because that's something new that not a lot of people know.
Do you know if WebEx, like Cisco or Microsoft Teams, has that too? I just tried it. It's awesome.
Isn't it great?
Yeah. I guess we have to ask, right? Look and see.
Yeah, so I do not know that.
Okay.
When this first came out, I was actually sitting outside on my balcony with almost no light on, and not only could you see me, but you could see all the houses behind me in the evening on the hillside. It literally, I put it on auto, and it just took care of the color balance, the lighting balance.
Yeah.
But that's a great tool if you have late evening meetings, like George, if you're speaking to Europe, that in the evening and your room is dark.
Super great tip. I love that. One last question, and then we'll wrap it up. Yvonne wanted to know, how do I deal with people when I don't want to see their nose hair? So rather than you being the annoying one, how do you deal with others not following proper etiquette?
Yes. Well, it depends if that's the only person you're speaking to. Would that be, Yvonne? Are you asking that's the only person you're speaking to?
Yeah, actually, yes. I mean, I can advise them to talk to you, Shelley, but maybe you also have an experience how to do this very politely. How to, the same thing you are doing with us, right? Like telling the people very politely that the camera angle is very, very distracting.
Right. Well, perhaps you can act as the expert to say, hey, let me show you or give you some advice of a couple different ways that you could actually raise up your computer so it really feels like I'm looking at, that we're looking at each other eye to eye. And then you're going to be looking at them eye to eye as opposed to eye to nose.
The eye to eye is a nice way how to phrase it.
Yeah. I hope that helped.
Great. Well, thank you so much. I know we only have a couple of people left, but thank you so much, Shelley. This was really, really interesting. Lots of tips. And if anybody would like to reach out for Shelley, please let us know. We'll be happy to make the connection. And thank you for joining us today. Really mind-blowing tips. So I hope you can all use them, and see you again sometime soon.
Oh, thank you, everybody. Thanks so much. And I'm Yvonne, I am going to, I don't know what happened to my computer. Needless to say, it's very distressing, but I'm going to send you, a link for the discounted individual Zoom makeover to send out to all the attendants.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Really appreciate all you did today.
You're welcome. Okay.
Bye.